Well, I have what feels like conflicting passions, right? Like I'm excited about the future. I'm a techno optimist. I like technology. I I have I believe that we're living in the greatest time that in the history of the world that you could have ever been alive, and things are changing at a really, really fast pace. But I think the opportunities therein are absolutely incredible, and so there's a lot of things about technology that I really love. I am in love with AI scribes, in the exam room right now, and I just see, the access to information that people have is incredible. The knowledge that we all have at our fingertips is incredible. I think that's gonna make the world better for pets and for people, and so I love all of those things, and I am to some degrees a romantic. Like, I am a traditionalist. I like vet medicine in its culture and what it was. I like the idea of having these relationships with these people, and like the James Harriet idea of going out to the farm and being among the community. It's not that I want to go out to the farm, but I do think that having a community and being a part of the social fabric is really important. I love that my neighbors come by the house and, they'll bring their pets for me to see and stuff like that, and, I can I just there's so many things about that the interpersonal relationships and things that have defined veterinary medicine in the past. I don't want those things to go away, and I don't think that they are going to go away, but, I think that that's really what has made this profession wonderful, and for me, it's what's made it deeply rewarding. And so I think that that's really the marriage that I'm kind of looking at is I think that we can do a lot of things differently, and I think that our lives are gonna get easier in a lot of ways, and I think that that's still that position as the veterinarian being part of the social fabric and really, being a deep relationship business. I don't think that that's going to change. So, I mean, there's 2 pieces of tech that I think are going to be ubiquitous, and it's just in the next couple of years. Like, they are coming really, really fast. The first is the AI scribes. There's a lot of companies out there, they all have sort of slightly different bells and whistles, things like that. Um, but the ability to take your phone into an exam room or take an iPad in the exam room and have an AI agent listen to the conversation, both sides of the conversation, and then beautifully and accurately and concisely summarize what was discussed is really incredible. Um, I love this because it is that mirroring in a lot of ways of the tradition and the new, in that AI scribes will continue to get better. But for the most part, the ones that I've worked with now, they get what's going on in the room. They understand what the clients are saying. They understand the recommendations that are being made and what the client is declining and things like that. And so what I learned after using them for a little bit was, yes, it's wonderful to have your medical records largely written up. They have to be reviewed, of course, but it is wonderful to have all these things just done. But what's truly deeply wonderful is that when you know the appointment is being recorded and what it needs to be captured is being captured and you can go back to it, it frees you up to be fully present with the other human being in the room in a way that it hasn't we haven't had that in a long time. Even when even if I wasn't actively typing in notes or things like that, the client would say something to me about the patient's history, and I would be trying to remember that thing. I would say, "All right, 4 years ago, left hind leg, had this, there was a mass on the left hind leg 4 years ago." And I'm trying to retain that either until I can write it down or I'm capturing it and sort of trying to hold on to it that way. But it's taking me away from being with this person and really hearing what they're saying and really, getting them to believe in me or to trust me or to understand that how much I care about them and their pet. And, with using the scribes, I found that it's just easier to be fully present. I don't have that worry. I don't reflect back and try to remember what was said. I really just focus on where we are and what's going on, and then I can review those things in my notes when I get out. It just makes me a better doctor, but it makes me much more present in the moment, and that really leans into that human aspect that I think is so important. The other part is, is sort of your AI chatbots or your AI agents that are there to sort of answer questions and provide information. I The ability to ask a very specific question to like an AI agent and get a response in the moment is incredibly powerful and useful. It's one thing to say, tell me about hypothyroidism. And, we've had great content that we can go and find. And because of the internet, we have access to that. But hypothyroid in a specific breed that, has at a specific age that has this weird other comorbidity going on. Um, that's challenging to sort of find in the moment. And of course, I'm not talking about putting our diagnostic, decisions into the hands of AI, but just that level of targeted information is really exciting, and the ability to go directly to the heart of what you're trying to find and just quickly get that information, it's really incredible. I think that you're going to see AI weaving into all the other things that we do, and so, I mean, the idea that we're going to have blood work results that come back with differential suggestions, or next steps, or these things that are very targeted specifically on this blood work and not just a piece of it, but what is the story the blood work is telling. I think that that's almost an absolute certainty in the very, very near future. It's going to give us more options. It's going to help us reduce the chances of missing things or forgetting things. I just think really it's an incredibly exciting time to be working up cases, and I think it's going to elevate the potential of clinicians hugely. Pilot program is there's so much hand waving around technology, and there's the AI as a term is baked into everything. There's AI water bowls, for goodness sakes, like it's everywhere, and people are AI overwhelmed, and they're tired of hearing about it. It's being added to every service imaginable, and people want an extra $10 a month for the feature, like it's just everywhere. And so I don't expect teams to be excited about it. I think that going forward, the real question to be answered is, what does this actually do for us? Does this honestly make our lives easier and better? Yes or no? And that's what your team wants to know. They don't want to hear your hand waving about how important this is or what potential it could have. They want to use AI to make their lives easier, to make them faster in order to get better outcomes. That's what they want. And so what I found is if you get the right products, this introduction is staggeringly easy because all you do is just use it yourself. Just start using it, and the techs will want to see what you're doing and they'll wonder about it. I didn't start with any other doctors in our clinic. When I was started with an AI scribe, I just started doing it myself, and the other doctors came to peek over my shoulder and be like, "What are you doing over there? What is that?" And then they started to see my records, which are beautiful. They're clearly laid out, they're organized, they're bullet pointed. I have these beautiful discharge summaries that are easy to skim and that go to the clients. And my stuff just got better. And they were like, "Oh man, you seem very happy with this." And also, it's really nice when we pick up your records and everything is laid out and summarized so nicely. And it's really been that easy. So here's what I think. I was reading a research paper recently by a college professor who was talking about giving college students his PowerPoint slides, right? So he's the instructor, and the students always ask for the slides. Like, just a standard thing that they do. And in some cases, students are pretty vocal about, the instructor should give us their slides. There's actually research, Kristen, that's been done on giving students your slides. And what it found is that instructors that give students their slides, the high performing students are unaffected by having the slides of the instructor. The low performing students do worse. Their scores go down. The the reasons that have been put forward, and you can't prove the reasons necessarily, but the reason that have been forward is if you give students your slides One, they are less likely to take their own notes. If they have the slides, they're less likely to take their own notes. Number two, they are more likely to believe that they have the information. They think that I have this, they think that they are more prepared for the examination. They feel less of an impetus to read the book because they have the slides, and they get smoked. Your high performing students, they do not believe that. They still take their own notes. They still read the book. They still prepare. Having access to the slides really does not help them in a significant way because they were doing the other things that are required. I think that there is a real parallel here potentially between getting the instructor's PowerPoint slides and having AI in your pocket. My concern is that your high performing veterinarians, and I think that veterinarians are going to fragment. You're going to have high performing veterinarians that are the high performing students who are still going to do the work. They are going to read the source material. They are going to actually pay attention in continuing education instead of, watching YouTube videos, scrolling on their phone. They are going to read. They are going to go to skill development workshops, things like that, where they actually practice what they're doing. They are going to use AI to learn, as opposed to using AI to get the answer without having to actually engage their own mind. And so I do think that the danger in AI is becoming so comfortable with it that you allow it to do your mental lifting. There's actually been research that shows that people who use Google Maps constantly to get around are less spatially aware and have declines in some of their cognitive function because you don't have to think about where you're going. And so you just go where you're told. But those muscles in your brain that do direction and spatial awareness and location and mapping, they atrophy. And so I do think that I think that that's a concern. And I do think that that can damage trust if it becomes popularly believed that veterinarians are just people who are using AI to answer your questions. I think that's a whole different set of problems. And so I do think in the future there's going to be two types of veterinarians: the types that use AI to get their work done, and the types that use AI to continue to learn and develop and improve themselves. The second category is always going to have work. They are always going to be valuable. They will always be in demand. The first group is going to quickly have a hard time because they're at a real risk of being replaced by cheaper hourly workers who can also use AI. I think that there's going to be a radical shift in education coming up, just in the way that we train veterinarians and the way that we train college students. I think there has to be. And I think that part of mentoring people is going to be putting them in positions where they can't use AI to make sure that they are still developing as doctors. It's about asking them, how do you approach this case? As opposed to, and then, just asking them, have you seen a case like this? What did you do with it? And starting to ask them those questions, not in a way that's a test way where they'd say, oh, well, yeah, I can just check this out real fast. I think you have to lead by example. I think you have to be the person who uses AI to learn, but not to do your work for you. I have seen, in my business and in other businesses, there is the next big management crisis that's coming is employees using AI to not actually do their work. And we have all seen meeting agendas that have clearly been generated by AI, which is not a problem as long as they're accurate. We have all seen emails where you say, well, that's not actually right, or this really sort of missed the point of what we were trying to do. It's because someone used AI to quickly generate a bunch of words. I think that getting caught like that I think that's going to become a social sin. I think that it's going to damage your credibility. You know what I mean? I think that's just going to be a thing that people are going to see. I think part of being a leader is, if you don't want to have a team that runs to AI and doesn't actually do any thinking for themselves, you're going to have to set that culture at the top by being someone who doesn't run to AI to do thinking for yourself. And, um, and then you're gonna need to engage with your people in a way that shows what they really know. Um, I think how we do that is something that is shaping up, right now in our society. I think it's gonna be interesting to see.